Welcome back to another episode of The Arena, guys. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest who's an absolute badass. This woman's helped hundreds of business owners scale their impact to bring in more profits and have a whole lot of fun in the process. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Laura. Laura, thanks so much for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here.
For sure. Yeah, they have a whole lot of fun, but don't forget the pain and suffering.
Right. We'll dive into all of that. But before we dive into the sauce that you're going to share, I'd love for you to kind of give the audience a quick intro. What have you been doing the last few years?
Yeah, dude, what have I been doing the last few years? A lot of inner work, a lot of killing my old self, so the person that I'm destined to be actually shows up for the world. A lot of that. So like leadership stuff. But yeah, we just been focused in looking for the right founders to partner with so that we can hit scalable impact together. So like I guess maybe some context for that. My big vision is like for myself is to elevate human consciousness. So for that to be possible, I truly believe that the best way to get there is through entrepreneurship. So I'm looking to find the right people that also have this big vision that really want to make a net positive impact for society.
Got
And
it.
that's what I've just been hyper focused on the last couple of years.
Yeah, I love that. Which you obviously talked about scalable impact. I've heard this term before. I believe this is a framework that you have. Can you share more what the framework is and how you came to develop it?
Yeah, so it's not even mine. I learned it from Roland Frazier. He's the one that actually taught me about being able to invest in companies, acquire companies, because like you don't actually need capital. You don't need hard cash, even though we do. If somebody fits our scalable impact framework, we invest at a seed round up to $500,000. But you don't necessarily need capital when you have skill sets, because the skill sets is the sweat equity, the capital, right? But anyways, it's three things. It's three core things. It's leverage sales, right? So what type of system, process, or people do we have in place to get more output in sales than what we have to put in as founders? Then it's bankable profits. So my sweet spot, a lot of people are different, but I know the industry that I'm after, and I know it's possible in this specific type of like fulfillment business in this model, which is for me 60 to 80% profit margins. Right? If you don't fit in that 60 to 80%, you're probably doing something wrong if you are like my ideal type of founder. And then the other thing is transferable value, right? So how can we predictably and repeatedly take a complete stranger, turn them into a paying customer, and once they become a paying customer, how do we deliver the transformation predictably and repeatedly while the founder can go on vacation and the business doesn't burn to the ground? If you have those three things, then what you have is a fire. And what we do is we come in and we pour gasoline on the fire so that we can hit scalable impact together.
Love that. So in a world then where businesses are so personal brand led, you talk about building value. How can you build value in a way that can be like transferred or sold if the business owner wants to walk away one day?
Yeah, so I build them separately. So I really do believe, and Alex Hermosi helped me really understand the concept when he broke down Kylie Jenner and how like she was so young, and because she already captured an audience, she was able to become a billionaire faster than anybody else because it's all about attention. So if you're able to come out to the marketplace, capture attention, what you do is you you want to provide value to whatever that audience is, and then you want to capture a percentage of the value, which is it turns into money, right? I'm a big believer that like if the value you bring to the world is, let's say, $100,000 worth of value, you are allowed to capture $10,000 if you truly provide that transformation.
Right. Yeah, I
Right.
love
So the
it.
more audience you have, right, the bigger the brand. It's really important to build a personal brand because it elevates the business brand, right? And when the founder wants to get out, it just means that there's a process for that. There's a process of getting them out of all the ads and all that stuff, and it's called professionalizing the business. But it's a step.
Yeah.
It's not. You don't instantly go there. Like you can't skip steps to scale. You have to go through every single step. I don't know if you're familiar. I mean, I think you are. You're familiar with Alex Sharfin's The Billionaire Code, right?
Right. Of course. And you
That's where
kind
I
of
learned
go
all
from,
of this.
builder to promoter to operator to investor. And yeah, so where do you, in your experience then, can you give more insight? Like, where do business owners screw up the scaling process by maybe skipping steps? Like, where do they get stuck in that? Like,
Leadership.
leadership?
And like self-leadership, right? You'll never get out of the $1 to $3 million a year trap. And $1 to $3 million a year is actually the most painful trap. There's a couple of them. $300,000 a year to $700,000 to $1 million a year is a very painful trap. But an even more painful trap is $1 million to $3 million a year.
Yeah. And what type of pain does it feel like? What does that feel like or look like to get out of it?
It's leadership. It's learning how to unconditionally love yourself so you can love others and lead them.
Yeah. So
Because that's the next step.
Right. And this is a perfect time to tie it back to, you said like the whole mission for you is to elevate human consciousness. A lot of this lack of leadership stems from usually interpersonal problems that manifest in the business. Like, how have you found a way to blend the two when you're consulting companies or coaching your clients? See that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So like exactly what you just said is like there's no such thing as business problems. There's only personal problems that reflect in your business. Right? So think about that. Like this is when you think of a founder, right? This is their baby, right? So like if you're coming in as a consultant and you truly care about providing that transformational outcome for the people that you work with, the way I envision it is this person has a baby and this person is abusing their baby. And they're feeding them GMO foods, or they're feeding them dirty water, they're putting mercury in their, you know what I'm saying? Like you get the concept, they're using their baby. So it's your moral obligation to get them to understand that their beliefs don't serve them. Because guess what the truth is? Your thoughts create reality. So if the reality you have is not what you want, guess what has to happen? We have to release beliefs that no longer serve us, right? But you can't do that. You actually cannot do that until you're willing to do that in here.
Right. Yeah. There's
you don't have the courage to confront.
Right. Yeah, I think this is this gives me goosebumps, as you say. Like, what's helped me really accelerate growth I'm 22, right? For those listening who know me,
You're 22, bro.
Yeah.
You're so far ahead of the game. I'm about to be 30 this year.
I definitely don't probably look like I'm 30. It feels like I've been on this planet for 30
years. I thought you were
years.
my age.
Yeah. No, but for me, it's been like I say, what good does it give me to hold on to a belief? So like I approach anything with the fact that I don't think I know anything at all, or I don't have a good enough reason to hold on to any current belief. So if someone drops something on me, like I'm not going to directly accept it, but I'm more open to thinking about it than I think I've seen a lot of other entrepreneurs, where they're way more guarding the beliefs they have than like willing to just get shit on and realize that like, yeah, that was really stupid of me. I didn't know anything, and now I agree with what this person's telling me. And so that I think is like it's a muscle that you kind of work, where you're just like, fuck
100%.
Like, what good does it have me to hold on to anything that I believe right now if I'm trying to grow, right?
If you don't have the reality that you want.
Right.
Yeah. And there's two types of people, right? There's people that must endure pain and suffering and hit their head on the wall continuously until they take a step back and they're like, oh shit, there was a door there the whole time? I'm one of those people for some reason. And then there's people like you that can learn from other people's pain and suffering and not make the same mistakes. Right. I just don't happen to be that person for some reason. Yet I'm trying to move into that. I'm actively working towards that. But that's been my experience, is like a shitload of pain and suffering until Laura becomes aware that, oh, you don't have to live here. There's another option.
Yeah. We won't get into this on this session, but I think some experiences in the jungle have accelerated me through that. For those who know what I'm talking about.
For sure. Like the first time I ever did DMT, I was 18 years old, and it was I didn't have people's regular experience, which was like they say like they see God or whatever. I don't think I did it enough. Like I didn't absorb it enough. But also I was 18. I was doing a shitload of drugs. I was like in a bad place. I call it my
Yeah.
lost years.
Right.
But when I did it, I heard this voice. And looking back, hindsight 2020, it was totally Gary Vaynerchuk. But the voice said, "Nobody cares." And it just hit my heart so hard. I just was crying. Like I didn't understand why nobody would care, because I felt like nobody cared about me. And like hindsight 2020, it's probably because my mom walked out on me when I was 7 and never came back. You know what I'm saying? Like my dad would always choose other families over me, like his other relationships over his relationship with me. And it just hit me really hard that nobody cared. But it was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to me. That
Right.
one psychedelic experience completely transformed the trajectory of my life because I decided to change.
Right. Yeah. And then you talk about like a you versus you mindset. It was in that moment, I assume, where you realized all you have is yourself. What were the beliefs you started to take on that helped you walk out of those dark times?
So in the early periods, I didn't really realize it was just you versus you. That's a more recent realization, probably in the last 2 years. And again, I'm about to be 30.
Yeah.
Before, what drove me out of those times was the haters. I was looking to be like, bitch, you ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I was very materialistic and I was very egotistical, but that is what drove my trajectory out of like the drugs and stuff like that. I mean, not even like I would still go out and spend like $25,000 a night at a strip club. Like I would still do things that did not serve me. But now I had a shitload of money and I thought I was the shit. And only making like a million, 1.5, maybe 2 a year. Not really like it, and I wasn't putting myself in situations where people around me were making 600 million a year. Right? Like I was the shit because I was better than the people I knew, but I never made the effort, I hadn't made the effort to go outside of the people I knew.
Right. Yeah, I heard something like this where Hermosi said like sadness turns into frustration, frustration turns into anger, anger drives change, and then that drives actions and then happiness, right? But I think there's a different path. Like
It's definitely a
elevating
different path.
consciousness now is
Yeah.
is like I'm aware that you're gonna feel negative emotion, you're gonna feel angry, sometimes frustrated, but you don't have to, I don't think, anymore. You can be aware like when as soon as an emotion that you don't like appears, just really meet it where it's at and understand like what it's trying to show me and then just make the change then and there versus like sit.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I had a very tough time understanding my emotions until I read this book. I don't know if you're familiar with this book, but it's called Power versus Force. Have you ever
I've
heard of that?
this, never read it, heard of it though.
I highly, highly, highly recommend it to everybody watching this. This guy spent his entire life understanding the levels of human consciousness, and he has a chart. That chart tells you every single emotion from top to bottom. The top half is power, the bottom half is force. If you understand that we live in a society that only 100 families control this society because they created the systems imposed on the population, you will understand that they want to keep you in force because they thrive off of you vibing at a low level.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I've seen this emotional scale before.
Okay, so then you know that the highest emotion is gratitude.
Right.
The only place you can manifest your reality is in gratitude.
Right.
So what is the game? If that's the truth, what is the game?
Staying in gratitude for what you have, and also love is one of the ones up there too, right? Gratitude and love.
Love is like the third level down.
Yeah.
But gratitude is the highest.
Right.
Just being grateful and understanding, like anything can happen to you. but not allowing your environment to change your physiology, which
Right.
means that, all right, if my mom dies today, how can I be great? How can I stay in gratitude?
Right. And I think
Which means looking for the wins, looking for the lessons, looking for the amazing moments in this tough environment. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And on the flip side, obviously, like here, most people, I think the bottom one is like fear,
It's
orlessness,
guilt. It's like
or
shame
guilt.
and guilt. Yeah,
Right.
shame and guilt. So that's when people commit suicide, when they're there.
Right. Right. But how have you seen like a lot of business owners in a weird way operate like almost lower? So doubt is like halfway down, I think, just below the like doubt. Blame, I think, is a little bit lower. But a lot of business owners probably listening to this live in that weird place where they blame their team for not getting a certain result, or they worry about a new ad campaign or a new thing that they're doing not reaching a certain. So, like, how do you deal with working through those types of beliefs with business owners? Because you know it's not like a tactic or a specific thing; it's always within them, right?
So think about what the question you asked. You said a lot of business owners. What revenue level is that?
Under the 3 million, typically.
Under 300,000. Maybe even
Yeah.
under 100. Most likely under 100,000. I don't work with those people. If someone cannot break the revenue level of $300,000 a year, I will not work with them.
Right.
Because it's something I don't have control over for them to get there. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like, it's
Yeah.
all on them there.
Right. But then there's, I mean, what about those who bottleneck at 1 to 3 million? And we've seen clients where they get to 1 million and then I start to realize, oh, there's a challenge in their marriage. And like the same way I've noticed he treats his wife is the same way he treats his sales team. And he just like puts blame on both parties. He blames his wife for something and he blames the sales team for the same things. So like I've seen that at those middle ranges. And I'm like, okay, it's not a new tactic. It's not bringing in new closers. It's like I'm now realizing something a year into working with this person about how they behave, but we're capped at a couple million a year. Do you ever see
Yeah,
things
if you
like
want
that?
scale. Yeah, 100%. So it goes back to leadership from you, because if you can't lead yourself, you're never going to be able to lead anybody else, right?
Right.
So and the one thing you cannot do is tell them what they need to do.
Right. Yeah.
They have to believe it was their own idea. So how do you do that is the magic question, right?
Right.
So the way I've learned to do it is by asking questions, active listening, getting them to open up on why they have that belief that doesn't serve them. And then I
Right.
pick apart the belief. I pick it apart and I'm like, and then I end it out. The end of the framework is like, so do you think that belief like serves you? Oh
Right.
no, well now that you break it down like that, you're right. Like this doesn't serve me. Then they have claimed the willingness to want to change something, right? And then I always bring it back to the ultimate growth formula, which is like, all right, like the ultimate growth formula is how quickly can you acquire knowledge and then change your behavior to match the knowledge that you've acquired.
Right.
Now that you know it does not serve you, what are you going to do?
Right. Yeah. What is the new actions and behaviors? What is your
What are the habitual changes that must happen for you to
Right.
match the knowledge that you've acquired? Because the ultimate growth formula is also the intelligence formula.
Right.
So me personally, and I use me as the example, I always base it off me because people, their egos get hurt, right? So if I don't have an ego in this specific situation, I'm willing to use myself as an example, which is how leaders lead by example, right? I personally have had everything 3 times and lost it all 3 times. What does that say about me? What is that? That I'm a fucking idiot.
Right.
No, that I'm a fucking idiot,
Retard.
right? Yeah, because I wasn't willing to make the changes required to become the person I'm destined to be.
Right. And what was like one of the major things you realized in that process that had to change?
Me.
You left to Peru?
No, so I mean, providing more value, focusing on product, but like, bro, there's just so many things. It's 3 times that this happens. Like, how much pain
Yeah.
and suffering do you have to endure, Laura? How much
Right.
more pain and suffering do you have to endure to be able to make the changes necessary? And like, this isn't even just a money thing. In the last couple years, I had really bad health problems. I used to weigh 250 pounds, dude. Like, I used to, like,
Yeah.
that's proof that I did not love myself unconditionally.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. The last episode I was filmed, I was talking about like if you can get in shape, it's like one of the hardest things a human can do in peak physical shape. Like if you can build the habits to get to that point, at least going down that journey, you'll be able to achieve almost anything else. For me
I know a
personally.
lot of bodybuilders that don't have any money and they can't
Right.
translate it out to, so it's not necessarily that, but you're right, because what is unconditional self-love? It's discipline and consistency.
Right. Showing up for yourself.
For
That's
your
what I
best
said.
self. Yes.
It's the journey, not the getting to that end point. It's if I at least set out to become healthier and just bring more awareness to what I put in my body, my movement, how much I move every day, like where my body needs me to show up. You don't have to be like I don't have a 6-pack. I've been trying for years. But I know I'm in a lot better shape than the majority who don't try at all, you know? And I've built the mental discipline to at least show up
Yeah.
when I don't feel like it. Which actually, this brings me back to you're talking about like leadership, and that's almost the number one important element for you to hit scalable impact with the businesses you work with. And obviously, if you're like raising money to accelerate growth for a company, what do you look for to quickly weed that out? Because like sometimes you don't know things about someone until you're a year in. But obviously, you've been like nailing down a process or refining the process to weed those out. What do you look for?
Yeah, so like just based off of just having so many fucking conversations, usually if they're not making already $1 million a year, they don't even qualify for scalable impact.
Right.
Because like the next level is building the team, and if you can't lead a team, because like we can deploy the system, we can build the team, but who's gonna lead it? That's not us. That's the
Right.
founder.
Right.
Right. So like I do all my sales calls right now, and that's the code that I'm cracking. Is
Right.
like, how can I most challenge the beliefs and get them to commit to the vision before I ever take their money or work with them?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I check them like at least 15 times before I ever pitch anything. And they have to fight me because I'm pushing away the whole time. I'm like, get away, get away. And they're like, no, take me, take me. So
Right.
it's that is my gauge.
What are like one or two things that most people don't like? Because I'm in this model too, right? And this is the types of clients that served in the past. What is like one thing most people don't look for that is just a big indicator for you?
Client fulfillment. Client fulfillment is everything. It's all about the product. It's all about transformational outcomes. If the founder does not give a fuck about transformational outcomes and providing the best service possible, I'm out. So like we've had partners that we've helped make $100,000 months, billions of dollars. And as soon as I get the hint that they're lacking on client fulfillment, I cut the relationship immediately. And I'm never taking them back.
Right.
And that has happened.
Yeah.
I made a commitment to myself because I've done this in the past. I've helped scammers scam, not knowingly, but like hindsight 2020. Fuck, man, I did this. That means I was a net negative to society.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as soon as I get the hint that a founder is not all in on transformational outcomes and service delivery, I'm out. That's my line in the sand.
Yeah. Which brings up, and obviously I think you weed most people out because you don't touch a certain revenue below. But let's say you're at someone $750K to $1 million a year. There's still rush month to month of new sales, new sales, new sales, new sales. And it's like their program, let's say they have a training program or an education platform. I've seen where like the program is all right, but the whole aspect of coaching is personal transformation. They're not paying you for like the information, they're paying you for the transformation. Like, how do you balance good enough on the product versus insane world class experience?
The thing is, product iteration never stops. Right? So that's why I'm saying, like, as soon as I get the hint that they're willing to take the foot off the gas, I don't care if the product doesn't work right now. I expect the product, if it's brand new, I understand it's not going to work, but it's the mindset of I'm going to show up no matter what it takes to make this product as best as possible and serve the people I've sold. It's that I love, and that's what I will fucking back 100%. But as soon as I get the hint that that is no longer the mindset and you're consuming all the money and not, like, you know what I'm saying? You're not focused anymore on the transformation, I'm out.
Yeah. Wow.
Because the way you build an 8-figure business is not through sales and marketing.
Right.
It's through results and retention. And if your product is not retaining and you're not putting the effort in to fix it, we will never make it to scalable impact together.
Right. It's very true. I know there's some of the listeners right now thinking about their product. I know there's someone listening who's reflecting right now like, shit, all I focus on is more leads and more sales. And if that's you, ask yourself, how much are you thinking about talking to your clients, getting feedback, and actually doing what they're asking for, making your product world class? That's going to take you a lot further.
That's why I moved to Peru. That's why I came here. Because one, nearshore talent is going to win. It's winning now. Nearshore talent is the best talent for front-end sales and marketing, and that's what I come in and deploy. Those are the teams that I deploy. But I have to be a leader here first.
Right.
Because this is where they are. I have to create culture. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about results and retention.
Right. And it's funny you brought up a point. Like, I came down to Medellin a year and a half ago. I already was in Latin America for 6 months prior to that. You're in Peru now. Like, the talent I see here and the being proximate is insane for what it can do to your business. And we're seeing such a big shift in that. Later today, after filming this, I'm interviewing 2 people to become live-in videographers and just create better stuff. Like, that's how much I care about my audience, and I don't even sell information at this point. But I know that there's so much value by just investing in documenting more of my life and sharing it. And that's part of
so that's beautiful that you say that, right? Like, that's truly beautiful that you're willing to make that investment. I think you're the light in the darkness, and by the darkness I mean these fucking shallow ass people that all they do is post their Lamborghini or post fucking money, and I say it with so much love because I was that person. I'm not saying it because I wasn't. I was that person.
Right.
And you're choosing to become the light in the darkness. One thing I chose very recently, like maybe in the last couple weeks, I don't know if you've been consuming my content, but like I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to let go of the materialistic flex, and I'm only going to flex my experiences that have forced me to change.
I love that. Yeah. And I've been feeling that a lot more and more. Like, we run a community down here with over 120 members. It's taken off, and it's just a breakfast every other week. And I'm now planning, depending on the time that you hear this, something called the Bucket List Mastermind Experience. And I'm just all in on curating the right people in the right rooms, like strategic learning and sharing of resources with unforgettable experiences. And I think like that for me is the biggest flex, because now the way the reputation is in Medellin, at least, or it's building, is we do epic shit. Like, people want to come out and be around us. And I get tons of messages after that's like, you guys have insane energy. You guys bring so much value. And I'm like, holy shit, like that. I feel buzzing off energy. There's nothing else I want. I'm just like, how do I do this bigger, better? Like, how do I go around the world now and take these guys with me? And I'm focused on like building a better platform around that right now to hold all these people and then go global with it.
That's awesome, dude. I'm proud of you, man. That's your purpose. You're living in your purpose. That's why you're so excited about it.
Yeah. And this brings up like content as well, which is super important moving forward, at least for me, because I've neglected it. And I'm just realizing like you have life on easy mode when you have a good brand, right? Like you're able to walk in anywhere and like I am what I say I am. You can just like see it for yourself. What's your future outlook on building your brand and content?
My main focus is being a net positive for society. I think the Alex Hormozi's newest video on his content strategy and how it's changing, I think it's very interesting. I think I don't want to get eyeballs just to get eyeballs. I want to get the right eyeballs. And that's why we actually have the approach of like cold outreach first, like cold calling people, having a list. Because like if I know exactly who my ideal clients are and I have a list of them, why would I want to talk to anybody but them?
Right. It's very true. Yeah. And most founders, why do you think that they take on unideal clients? Like, or what do you say to those people?
Cash grab, baby. What do you mean? Why do they take on people they know they can't help? They need money.
What do you say to those people though? Because there is a sense when you're
scamming.
Yeah. And they're just like taking on cash to float the business. I don't think what they realize though is like you saying yes to the wrong person
is a net negative.
Yeah. It's a net negative for you long term. What you're really signaling is like, I don't believe I can attract more of the right people by saying yes to this.
So they're living in those emotions. They're living in the bottom half. They're living in force. They're living in fear. They're living in anxiety. They're living in scarcity. So like the thing about feeling emotions, that's how you create your reality. You think of the outcome that you want, and then you feel it, which creates the reality. Brain and heart coherence. You never heard of Joe Dispenza? Go check him out. But like, that's the hack. So like the fact that they think, hey, I need to go get money to then live in abundance, that's backwards. You must feel abundance to get the money.
Right.
So like if you live in scarcity, you're going to attract shitty fucking situations, dude.
Right. You got to just be brainwashed on the fact that there's infinite people who think like me and want my help and that I can transform their lives.
100%. So that's part of our process for those, like, if you're a $300,000 a year earner and you want to make it up to those 100K months, that's the coaching that happens there, because I have to get them to get out of scarcity, right? And usually, how does that show up? It's, I want to work with everybody. My service works for everyone. No, bitch. Like, one bitch, one offer, one channel. Till we hit $100,000 months. If you're not willing to commit on those three things, bye.
Right. Yeah, it's so simple. And I know there's people listening right now who are like that. And they're thinking about their business and they're thinking about more leads and more sales, and they're not thinking like, I need help internally. I need to see a blind spot and get out of it.
And that's just because they don't know. So, but like if they're watching this, that means they have officially acquired the knowledge. Now, the question becomes, if we believe that the ultimate growth formula is true and it predicts intelligence, that means, okay, you've now acquired the knowledge. So how quickly will you change your behaviors to match the knowledge that you've acquired? Because we, in one podcast, just told you how to make $1 million a year.
Right. Yeah. This alone right here, if you just walk away asking yourself a single question of, what do I feel like I have been ignoring or not willing to change about myself that is resulting in business challenges, and you just reflect on that, you're going to come up with a list of ideas, and I guarantee you'll know exactly what you're ignoring.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, it honestly, it comes down to healing, right? Because for one reason or another, they live in those emotions. Normally, it comes down to whatever happened to them between they were 0 and 7 years old. Those times, and sometimes it can even go back in past generations, right? So
Right.
like I have a protocol that I deploy if that's the situation. I have a partner, it's called Rest, and they go in and they just do brain surgery on you without even touching you. It's all through Zoom. And they heal the inception of the emotion, because these emotions just show up in patterns. Right? So they're just going to continuously show up until you heal it at the core. So that's what they help you do. So instead of me trying to fucking go back and forth with these people, I'm like, hey, this sounds too deep for my expertise. Please go book a call.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny you say that it's generational, because I came to realize, like, I came from a family of strong men. My family's predominantly male, at least on my dad's side. Like, there's a fuck ton of boys and very little girls for some reason, and all of them are like savages, like Olympian gymnastics guy. My grandpa like rode horses and fought in World War II. My dad was in the army, left to US. Like I've had cousins who've almost drowned in the ocean trying to run away from war, and I realized like all of them are addicted to pain in one way or another. At least from my grandpa to my dad and to my oldest brother and down to me, they're addicted to working hard, and they're addicted to feeling pain. And what happens is they work so hard, they're addicted to it because they never have reached the ultimate goal. And so they feel like they have to work harder and push through more pain. And I've realized like so my dad got to a point where he accepted never reaching his goal, right? He just like accepted it. And that was my fear that I realized. Like I feared that I would work so hard, not reach my goal, and have to settle for something that was mediocre. And once I broke that pattern, I was like, yo, fuck that. Like, I don't need to suffer, and I don't need to like worry about what if I don't hit my goal, because then I'm going to end up in the exact same place as my parents. Like,
And
I'm just
that's
going to
what lit a
rewrite the
fire
story.
under your ass. That's but like the fear, like that's usually what happens if you've never had money before. You do need that outside fear to light that fire for you to get the goal. But then the question is, will you sustain it and grow it?
Right.
And usually, if you keep being led by pain and suffering, it's not sustainable, because what you do is you cause disease plus disease in your body, which is what I did, and that's why I had so many health problems.
Right. Yeah.
Because the hack is leading with love, dude. That's the life hack.
Right.
Unconditional self-love. So
Yeah.
doing the inner work.
And when I walked out of that experience, like that happened at a retreat I was at, and I walked away like, okay, I realized where I get all this fear, and now I'm ready to make a change. And I said, what can I focus on that I can control now? Now that I know this, what am I committing to? And I just committed to like adding more value without fearing that money wouldn't show up, without fearing that more clients wouldn't show up. And I got out of that, and I'm literally getting goosebumps as I say this. I was like, what the fuck have I been fearing? I have all the elements in front of me to make massive impact. Like, I thought I had to go build this new community, this new program, this new business, when I'm like, everyone is already fucking here. I'm just not showing up for them. And then, like, that one shift, I come back from the States last week, and, like, we just held a founder's breakfast 2 days ago, and I'm like, holy shit, yo, all these guys, like, love us. They want us to do more. They want to pay us for us to do more for them. And I was like, I was just blind to it, because I was, like, worrying about how to do something instead of just, like, committing.
Dude, worry is one of those bottom that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, you are in control. We're living in a matrix. You are the fucking one that's in control.
Right.
And how do you control it? With your thoughts and your emotions.
Right.
So
Yeah,
if you stay in gratitude, because that's your, like, think about what I'm saying. Like, really take this in, and this goes for everybody watching. If you just focus on always being in gratitude, you will be able to identify when you're not. So then as soon as you're able to become aware that you're not there, the question becomes, how quickly can I get back? That's the exercise. That's the muscle that you have to fucking develop.
Right.
Right? So I'll share with you how I gauge that. because I've never heard anybody really talk about this. So for me, every single morning, I envision the reality that I want to attract. For me, it's having my own family, because I didn't get to have that, right? So what I envision is me, my girlfriend, my parents, and my grandparents in a hospital room, and my girlfriend is laying there with two twins. And immediately what happens is I start to tear up. I'm tearing up just talking about it. But these are not tears of sadness or suffering. These are tears of gratitude. I'm just so grateful for already being there. I see them. It's everything I could have ever wanted.
Right.
And that's the tears are my trigger to see my heart is filled with gratitude. I'm so grateful for this moment. And then boom, I jump even further into the future. And now I'm sitting in my $4 million house with my fucking $2 million yacht and my 4 kids around me, right at the pool. We're just chilling. Yes. And then boom, my heart is filled.
Yeah, you just sent a wave of chills through my body. And it's a similar experience. Like, I think a lot of people are not living in the present moment. Their brain is so far in front of their body trying to solve problems all the time. And that's that addiction to worry and fear, right? When you identify that, you come back to like, I'm not there. I'm literally not there. I'm missing life. And then, like you said, the practice every morning is envisioning what you want. When I was in Miami the other week, my personal coach was running the retreat, and he asked, like, we were walking in a circle, and he's like, what's the number one thing you envision that you're so proud of looking back at the end of your life? And I got to pair up with him out of the 50 people. I was so grateful that, like, I got to share my ultimate vision with him. And I was like, man, I'm building schools in a part of the world that's been demolished by war. And he goes, and I go, and I see the kids go from sadness and suffering to excited and happy because they can go to school. And he goes, and I go, and I see the parents change from like burden and suffering to happy that their kids now have a place to go to school and learn. And he goes, and I just fucking broke down crying. And he's like, how do you feel right now? And I was like, and it's fucking happening. Like, it happened. And he's like, and now you're
I'm tearing up listening to you.
Right.
Because that's fucking beautiful, dude.
And he said, and how does it feel now that you're about to die, knowing, he's like, what is your final word? I was like it fucking happened. And like, I'm good to go. Like, I was like fully good to go. I was like, I fucking did it. And then he looks at me and he just shakes his head. He's like, you fucking did it, bro. Like, there's nothing to like worry about. And that was when I felt so powerful, because I was like, yo, like, I literally fucking know the feeling of why I'm waking up every day. It's for that feeling, to see that whole chain of events happen in a place of the world that, like, it's because most of my family got wrecked in war, and I couldn't do shit about it. And my parents would spend all their money sending it overseas, and I couldn't get a new pair of shoes as a kid because my dad would choose to send it to his sisters who were in a war. But I never understood the difference, and I thought my dad was neglecting us. But I realized as I got older, like, he fucking cared. Like, he worked hard, and he probably was in the stress of he didn't know what to do. Like, he wants to provide for his family, but then the rest of his family's, like, suffering. And he couldn't explain that to a little kid, and he couldn't show his emotions about it. And, like, as I got older, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, he did everything. So now it's my turn. Like, I'm aware, and now it's my turn to carry this on and solve it.
This is your destiny. You were born for that. That's beautiful that he was able to take you through that, because so I'm a firm believer that we choose what life we want to live when we come and have this human experience. We know where we start and where we end. We know the whole thing, and we're like, holy shit, I want to experience that one. But as soon as we're born, we forget.
Right.
And we have this human experience. But we know exactly what we're here for. What you just told me is that you already know the play-by-play, dude. You
Right.
already know what's gonna happen. Just go out and fucking do it, action.
Right. And I guess so. I feel like a bee, like a buzzing bee. because I'm just so filled with energy all the time, because I know like this mission is so fucking big and I haven't even scratched the surface yet. Like building businesses, that's cool. I've mastered marketing and sales. There's always room to grow there, but I'm really all in now on how do I bring the right people together to really amplify the impact, make more money in business, but also stems from having a lot of fun with who I'm around, because now we like help each other grow our businesses, but we also love being around each other. We're going to ask what comes next. And now we have a community of baller business owners who want to go build a school or who want to go change the world in some other way.
Provide internet access to someone, build a well, free electricity, all of that shit, dude. All of that matters. That's what really matters. And money, the business is just what you do to get the byproduct that becomes money to then reinvest into vision and purpose. That's the game.
Yeah, and like I wholeheartedly believe aligning people who have the same vision, like we build so much faster. And that's what's
checking your intuition too, because there's also people that then have a vision of control, and they want to control the masses, right? So there's different types of people out there. You got to be aware and have that gut check and listen to yourself and trust yourself when you feel something.
Yeah. No, this is super badass.
Did you expect this conversation to go this way?
I was just gonna say that. I had no idea we were going. You guys are so fucking lucky that Laura's here with us. Yeah.
I'm lucky to be here, dude. I'm lucky to be here.
Likewise. This is fucking magical, man. We live in a time now with the internet where we can do things that we've never been able to do. When I was probably just dropped out of college when I met you on the internet. I probably had no fucking skills I've ever seen. Yeah, the first time I came across you, I think it was like you had this ebook. You're in like a bathtub. I don't know if you remember that lead map. You remember that? Like
that's my second book.
That was like just getting started in the game.
That's awesome.
It shows you the power of the internet, though, because like I didn't even have any plan. I don't even know what I thought of that when I saw that ad or whatever. It's like here we are a few years later talking about
that's awesome
shit. It's fucking cool. So there's no excuses for you to like not live out your vision in this world.
No, not at all. And like I'm glad you bring that up, because I want everybody to understand this perspective of if I can do it, you can do it. Like, dude, I do not fit in society's box. You have access to a bigger market than I do just because of the way I look. It closes my market. There's really homophobic people out there that don't want to do business with me because of who I am, right? Values are incongruent, right? Whatever. But like you have unlimited access to knowledge. Alex Hormozy's putting all of that shit out there. The biggest difference is how quickly will you change your behaviors to match the knowledge that you've acquired, because it's all action.
Right.
There's no excuse for anyone. That's why when I see these like white men complaining about not having money, I'm like, no, you're a bitch. Like, you're just not willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to get the reality that you want. You're not willing to put the fucking work in.
Right. Meanwhile, there's like fucking immigrants coming here, like flying, like running away from bombs and missiles, and lost their whole family, lost a leg, lost an arm, and they still fucking figure it out.
Exactly.
And they're inspired to like make a bigger change, and that I think that's badass. Which brings up, if there's one other book I'd recommend, I think it's Discipline by Jocko Willink, or Discipline Equals Freedom, or something like that. Like taking extreme ownership. All right, that's the book.
I think it's called Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, and I think the subtitle's like this: how discipline leads to freedom, or whatever. That concept of like I own my reality, like that will empower you so much more. So many business owners, they fucking whine. Like they like, you have to kick and like drag them, and they're kicking and screaming like a little child when you're trying to help them get to their results. It's like, bro, you're the reason you're not where you're at. If you just own it, stop blaming it on someone else on your team. Stop thinking you need a new solution or a new answer from someone else. You go jumping like program to program, hiring consultants. Like, just fucking sit down and use your brain and trust yourself in knowing what you need to do. And more often than not,
what you're describing is a different problem, because like what you're describing sounds like either the fear of success or the fear of failure showing up, right? So that means that what they told you is their dream isn't actually their dream. It's somebody else's dream that they haven't actually truly claimed. Because if it truly was your dream, you would do whatever the fuck it takes to get there.
Right. That's true.
That's an internal incongruency. So that's how you cannot handle those people. Like, don't waste your time on those people. You need to be able to check those people, or you need to be able to learn the skill sets to help them overcome that.
Right. Yeah. What have you noticed has been the underlying reason if someone fears failure? Like, they're only doing this because they feel they need some validation in the process. They think that, like, if I reach this point that all these other social media people paint, I might feel validated or have more self-worth. That's a terrible driving factor. What have you seen happen to those people? Like, what's the result? Where do they end up?
So like they'll either get everything they ever wanted and then lose it all multiple times, like exactly what I'm talking. I can only speak from experience. I've been there, done that. That's how I talk. Okay? So it's they have to go through enough pain and suffering to change. That's it. Because they won't grasp the concept of self-love, like leading through unconditional self-love. They won't. It just won't happen. I remember I said there's two types of people. They're the first, and they'll only learn through pain and suffering.
Yeah.
But everybody, I really believe to the core of my being that every single human on earth has the potential to become the best version of themselves. It just comes down to them.
100%. Yeah. So if you had to leave the audience with one piece of advice walking the way that can transform the trajectory of their entire business, what would that be? Let's not pretend we've already given them so much value, by the way.
Yeah, I'd leave them with this framework. Know exactly where you want to go. Because if you don't have vision, you'll never get to where you want to go. And what happens if you don't know where you want to go, the systems that are imposed on society, which again, 100 families control 8 billion people. So those systems work very, very well. So like, if you don't have a vision for your life, they will give you one.
Right.
And if you're willing, if that's what you want, go ahead. But if you want to take complete control of your reality, and if you're the type of person like me that wants to have fuck you money, then you gotta lock in on vision. So, but it's a specific process, right? So first you write down goals. What are your goals? Then you turn those goals into I am statements. When the big change that happened for me, it was when I shifted from using my affirmations as manifesting materialistic things, because they would just pop up for me. Like, okay, I have a Porsche, I have a $2.4 million house, like I have all these things, right? And it worked, but when I shifted to manifesting or affirming the character traits of the person I want to become, I know I'm destined to become, which is $100 million person, everything changed.
Right.
The universe, God, whatever you want to call this being that created everything, puts opportunities in front of you and tests to prove to yourself that you are who you say you are. So if you focus on acquiring character traits instead of materialistic things, the money becomes a byproduct of the person that you're destined to be.
I fucking love that. That is, yesterday or 2 days ago, I put a story that was like, you are defined by your character, not what you have, not your achievements. And so recently I've changed all my vision board stuff. And I just printed this out yesterday, put it on my wall last night. It's been all over my MacBook, my phone. I have it rotate tiles, and it's got like photographic reminders, either of influential figures or pictures of myself already living out things. And I have a blurb on each one, whereas before I just had image. And so I have something like, Chris Williamson, for example, and I really love his podcast. So I host influential guests on my podcast. that share major value with the world. And like, that's one tile. Or like, I run a community of business owners all helping each other grow. And it's a picture of like Zoom with like a bunch of people on it. Or
Do you want to make that even better? Because I do something very, very similar. And if you
What
make
is
just
it?
one change, it will completely transform it faster.
Right.
The one change that, based on what you're telling me that it's missing, is a picture of you as a child
Right.
on every little slide. So for me, I do something similar. I have it on Canva, and I call it my life storybook. And I read this to myself every single morning, in the afternoon, and then at night, every single day. Because the more you affirm, the more it's attracted to you.
Are we talking about something like this?
Not exactly that, but something similar. It's each page is so like at the top I have my I am statement, right? Which is whatever character trait that is, right? So for example, I am leadership and I lead by example. I have a picture of Alex Hermosi, and then I have a picture of me as a child.
Right.
Your subconscious mind connects to your inner, I don't know if you believe in inner child, but connects to your inner child. And every single day, you're reminding yourself and your inner child with love of what it is you're trying to attract, because your inner child is just a representation of your subconscious mind.
Right. That's so true, because when I look back at the child pictures, I'm like, yo, I don't really remember living in that reality much, but I remember that I was that with the dream. And now here I am. So like, I have this picture, like I have a bunch of reminders around the house. I've tried all different things. I have another like bunch of I am stuff with character traits right under my vision board. But this is when I won my first ever football championship. And I had fought my parents for years to let me sign up and play American football, and they made me wait from like 3rd grade to like 6th grade to sign up. And that first year we went to the championship, and it's obviously called the Super Bowl. And I was like, this feels fucking sick. Like, I'm playing, and it was the first time in my life where I felt meaning. Like, all the work that I was putting in gave me meaning. And holding that trophy when we won, we lost that year. The next year we went back and won. Like, everything made sense. It was all worth it. All like the cold ass practices, all the bruises, all the pain was worth it for that moment. And so I look
And
back
how often do you talk to the younger version of you and tell him how proud of him you are?
Right. Not as much as I should be, right?
I promise you have that relationship, things start to happen faster.
Right. Yeah. And that goes back to gratitude, because a lot of people neglect the idea of like, I'm so grateful I've been showing up for myself already. Like, I look back and I'm like, everything that guy wanted, that kid, like I showed up for him, and that's why I'm here, which means I continue to do that. I'll be way further in a few years.
Dude, I'm already telling you, you're so fucking far ahead. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been lucky. People ask me like, how do you get to where you're at? Like childhood friends, for example, or close people I talk to. Like, how'd you get there? I'm like, dude, I can't like lead you down a repeatable path. But what I can tell you is you just point your intention in a direction and you just go. Like, you will be so far in a few years, because that's all I did. Like, I made a decision. This picture was the first fucking room that I moved into when I left my parents $500 a month across the U.S. I went from Boston to Salt Lake City. I didn't even see it in person before moving there. I just made a decision that I was rewriting my whole story moving forward, and all the right people showed up. Fast forward 1 year, I bought my childhood dream car. I started a dream business. I celebrated my 21st birthday on a Caribbean island. I just moved in a direction, and all the right people showed up, and I can't say I controlled any of it. Like, I just...
Dude, but this is the thing. The universe and God is always working in your favor.
Right.
Always, at all times.
Right.
You are just holding on to beliefs that don't serve you, so it doesn't allow you to see it. So
Right.
it's how quickly can we release those beliefs that no longer serve us? Because
Right.
at one point they did serve us. At one point they protected us, right?
Right.
But it no longer serves you.
Exactly. I think that's a fucking great mic drop. Laura, thank you so much for all that you've shared. It's been such an honor to have you here. And guys, if you're listening still, give this woman a follow. She just dropped major value on all of us. Easily worth thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if you implement and see.
I would put it in the millions, but all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I told them
Right.
exactly how to make $1 million a year.
Right. It's a couple belief changes and you can fucking go rebuild whatever you want. Like, you can empower yourself to build a whole new society like I am. Laura, I appreciate you so much. Keep crushing in
Thank
the
you for
world.
having me, my man.
Where can people connect with you further or keep up with you?
Yeah, subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm always dropping content once a week. I'm committing to that. At Laura Egocheaga on YouTube. Same on Instagram and Twitter. I'm heavy on Twitter, so follow me there as well.
Love it. Thank you so much
Or
again.
X.
X. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you around.
Peace.